welcome to Let's Get Literary, where we interview children's authors, discuss their book, and of course, talk about the importance of literacy and how important it is for children to have books in their hands. I'm Leslie, co-founder of Hindy's Libraries.
I'm Dovid, other co-founder.
We're going to interview Dr. Menge, author of Queen Vernita, the Queen Vernita series, and she's going to join us right now and tell us a little bit about herself. Well, welcome, Dawn. Welcome to our Hindy's Libraries podcast, where we talk about children's books, the importance of literacy, and get to know wonderful authors from all over the world. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Dr. Menge. I teach students with severe cognitive delays by day. And by night, I write an educational series on the weekends and when I'm off. It started with this one. It was an assignment in my credentialing class, in a math class. They asked us to write this book. So the very first book actually had my students in it. And we did these little plays and we went around, and then I explained my students' behaviors and things to the other children. So then I decided that I wanted to publish it. So I put all the children in the family in it, and Vernita was my grandmother.
Wow.
And it's based on the days of the weeks and months of the year. Each month has a new friend and a new subject and 7 activities. So the first one's pre-K to first grade. It covers days of the week, months of the year, seasons. And then I started winning awards and getting interviews. And then they asked me what my next book was. I don't know. That was it. That's all I was doing. So then I started traveling around the kingdom. The Queen did. And these are all based on my real adventures. And all of these people, all the friends, are real people in my life. And because I teach disabilities, some of my books have disabilities in them. And they explain the disabilities. Like this one. This one is Connor. He was one of my students. And he has autism. And so he's teaching the Queen how to use a communication device. And then she's at the volcanic park in Kona, Hawaii. And this one is, I wrote with my little brother. He's an astronomer at JPL. And it covers planets. And each month is a new planet with 7 facts about the planet. So it's a catalyst to go get more information. And they go all the way up to 6th grade.
What inspired you to start writing books?
Well, like I said, it was an assignment, so I kind of had to do it. And then, you know, most teachers, they want to publish a book. So I thought, okay, I'll publish it. And then it started just kind of evolving from there. The series has won 41 awards, all the way from readers' views, readers' favorites. They're all Mom's Choice. They're all Story Monster approved. They're all Purple Dragonfly or Royal Dragonfly. There's some Evie Awards in here, all sorts of different things. But with this book, I wanted to try something different. So I entered the Conquering Our Disabilities with Film Festival. And so I entered this book and this book. And the books were selected to participate in the festival. So in September now, they keep moving the date, but in September, I'm going to go to Vegas for 4 days and hopefully win an award and then meet some film people, and just, it's like a whole new world out there for that. So I'm excited about that.
That sounds really cool. Your books seem to cover like a really wide range of topics. How do you, when you're ready to sit down and write another one, how do you pick something to do next?
Oh, well, they're all based on my real adventures. So that's pretty easy. All I do is travel. So this one was on a paddle boat trip. I took up the Snake River, following the Lewis and Clark Trail. And this one, I have some friends who live in Kona, Hawaii. So I actually have 2 books based on them. And this one is on Alaska. This one is the coastline of California. And I do a lot of stuff with Story Monster magazine. They're out of Tempe, Arizona. And when I go there, I sell a lot of these because they're coming here to the coast, excuse me, to, you know, travel up the coast. So they get the book for their kids and they read it, and it tells all about the coast. So it's a great learning tool for that. This one is Baja, Mexico. So it covers all of that. This one is New Orleans. It talks about alligators and the bayou and the Mardi Gras and all that. So I, of course, had to go there. I'm just finishing my 10th book in the series. 19 of us in our family took the train from Williams, Arizona to the Grand Canyon. And so then we went on the Polar Express. We took all the kids. So it's called Queen Vernita's Magical Christmas Train Ride. And it's to first grade, and it's coming out hopefully next week. And then I've already started the next one. We always go camping at Halama Beach. It's on the coastline of California, my whole family. So I'm writing a pre-K to first grade book on that, and it has fishing and kite flying and s'mores making and all sorts of outdoor stuff, camping and all of that. So then I have a couple more I'm going to write. Not sure what subject's going to be yet, but they're all based on my life, so it's kind of easy to know, you know.
I can kind of see your mom skills coming through. It seems like your material is coming out of experiences that you've had with your kids or kids, you know, grandkids or other family kids. And the material itself seems like maybe not the kind of thing a pre-K kid will read on their own, but certainly something that a kid with a parent reading with them is going to be able to enjoy and digest in a different way. Is that intentional? I mean, that must be intentional, right?
Yeah. Well, the first one, a first grader could read it on their own because it's just the simple text. It's days of the week, months of the year. And this is the one I read, like if I go to book readings or whatever, I read this one because it is easier to read. The other ones are more academic. And so, yeah, they're not really storybooks that you can just flow through. But what I've found is that autistic children really like the books because of the mission. They all have the same format. So like these are 3rd and 4th grade, and then these go all the way up to 5th and 6th grade. I found that adults are getting a lot of information from them. And the kids, you know, they really like them. And then they just pick, like if they like alligators, then they go find out more information about an alligator. So.
Yeah, it's so challenging. I mean, my oldest are in 4th grade. So they're just kind of passing through that, you know, learning literacy to now reading. They can read almost anything now. I mean, just in terms of their decoding skills, they can read anything. And now you really have to try to get them interested in the content. So some of them love fiction. One of them loves fantasy. One of them really would love these books, you know, would love the kind of facts about different kinds of things, exploring around. I mean, maybe you call it geography very broadly. So it's really hard to get kids interested in reading because at this age, you know, you have to interest them in what's going on. Is that something you think about when you're writing your books? You know, how you lay them out, not just subject matter, but how you write them?
Oh, yes. You know, I try to find information that it's not commonly known. And, you know, like I might go to a place and think, well, this is what I'm going to write about. And I get there and I find out like all this new stuff. And so that's what I write about. And I really want children to want to explore. Like this one has a seahorse. It's a seahorse sanctuary. And so we went there and we got the seahorses wrap their tails around us. And then last year we went to an octopus farm and they were escorting my grandkids. You know, all of the kinds of things that maybe you wouldn't even know are out there that you could experience. And it gets the parents interested too. If they're reading one of the books and they go like Tacona, they might not even know that the seahorse sanctuary is there, you know, and the octopus sanctuary, you know, you're just not there swimming in the ocean. And, you know, there's lots of other things. I went swimming with the sharks. And so it's just to try to get people out there and to explore and to know there's a lot more out there in the world than just what's on the television or, you know.
I think that's really cool, actually, that you mentioned parents being interested in the subject matter. I hadn't really thought of that. You know, I'm not always interested in reading my kid Pete the Cat. As good as Pete the Cat is, there's nothing in it for me. But you know, a seahorse farm actually sounds like something I might want to know about. So when I'm sitting and reading this along with my first grader or something, there's actually some salience for me as a parent. I haven't really heard about salience, literacy salience for the parent that's reading along. That must be so helpful, just to get parents to read with their kids.
Well, see, that's one thing, like when you go on my websites and stuff, like our whole family's on there, from the littlest kid to the oldest one. And so it kind of gets the family going and the parents, and if you go to New Orleans, you all go to the bayou, you all get to go on the jet boat, you all get to hold the baby alligator. It's enhanced families, and that's what I really try to do.
It's giving me vacation ideas. I don't know about you, Leslie.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's
where would you like to go?
It's a great idea, especially for those children who aren't able to travel for whatever reason. It's such a great way for them to learn about the world in an engaging way, an exciting way to them, where it's not forced onto them. They're not necessarily researching it, even though they are getting the information. Yeah. What a great way for them to kind of dive into their imagination and learn about things they wouldn't be exposed to otherwise. I love that. How long does it take you from an idea from, okay, so I traveled and I went camping in California and now I'm holding the book?
Well, it takes my illustrator quite a while, because what she does is she takes actual pictures that I have, like from the trip, and we put them all into one illustration, and she hand draws them and hand paints them. So it takes, sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it takes a year. So we figure out what it is, because there's 12 subjects, what subjects I want to write about, till I get that. And then to actually write it, it only takes me like 2 weeks, because they also follow the same format. So once I've got the illustration set and what I want to do, I know what I want to look for. And sometimes it takes a year. Like right now I'm getting 3 out, but I haven't published a book in a year. So now that we're doing this and I'm a teacher and I've been at home, I have more time to really think about what it is I'm doing and concentrate on this part of my life. So,
especially now I'm thinking for anyone who has your books while they're, sheltering in place, what a great thing for them to have and kind of learn all these new facts while they're home. It's so inspiring to see that, there are books
want to do when they don't have to stay home.
Right.
Yeah, and it's different than watching a live stream from a zoo, which is cool too.
Yeah.
But you can kind of explore things more. Do you have advice for a parent who's sitting down to read one of these books with their kids? That's what I'm envisioning when I'm thinking of, right? Some of these, some of them you have kids reading on their own also. But what advice do you have for those kids? Are not listening to this podcast, so we don't need to address them. What advice do you have for parents who are sitting down with their kid or handing their kid one of these books and saying, "Here's this cool book that I found for you to read"? What would you prep them with?
It's an educational book. Every page has a different subject and has different information. So sometimes I tell everybody that if you just read one page, you could read one page. See, this one is on octopus. And if somebody's interested in octopus, you could read just this one page. You don't have to read the whole book. If it's overwhelming for the child or you don't have the time, if you're sitting down at night reading, okay, what do you want to learn about like octopus tonight? And then you can talk about it. It's not something that you have to like really push to read, and because then they're not going to enjoy it, and then. Yeah,
I find nonfiction is very difficult to have kids engage with. Done right, it can be done, but it's not always as easy as here's the story flow of Harry Potter, and you kind of get into that. It can be difficult with nonfiction. You kind of either need to put it into a story, like sort of make it into a story and then fit it in, or make it fun. Right. That can be really challenging. So it seems like that's the challenge that you've undertaken, but you're winning awards for it. So I think you're doing a good job.
Somewhere, and of course I sell a lot in the schools. So
do you use these in your own classroom?
Well, I teach severely handicapped students, so the subjects are a little too high for my students. So this one I do read, but the other ones, my students and my staff are in the books. So
I love that. I love that it kind of has a personal touch. I think that's always so fun when the characters have extra meaning and they're either based on someone or named after someone. I think that brings an extra dimension to the book, especially for those who know about it. Not many people will know that was your student or that was your colleague, but to that person, that's very loving, I think, to be, incorporated into your work. What advice do you have for someone who's watching or listening and wants to get into the field of writing? I mean, you've written so many books, won so many accolades. What words of wisdom can you give someone?
That if you want to do it, then you need to do it. Sometimes we're just scared to step out there and put ourselves into the world because we're going to get criticized or, all sorts of stuff. But you know what? If it's your story, it's going to come out, and it's going to come out right. And don't just give up. If someone gives you a bad review, just take it. Take what you need from it, take what you don't need from it, let it go, and move on. And the best thing that I did was join the SCBWI, Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and I started going to their conferences, and I met the neatest people. And they're just, from New York Times bestselling authors to people who haven't even published. Everybody just acts the same, and they have so much advice for you. And the best thing that I saw was Kwame Alexander. He gave a speech, and it was say yes to everything that you can. So I was at a point where I was kind of discouraged and, like, why am I doing this? And then I heard his speech. And so I started just saying yes to things. And so I've become a book reviewer for Story Monster magazine. I judged literacy contests for children's books and romance books. What else have I done? I do a lot of things in Tempe, Arizona. I was on a launch team with Kwame. That was fun. I went and saw him speak in LA. I just have had a lot of different experiences I would not have had if I didn't just get out there and go, you know what, this sounds interesting, or that sounds interesting. So don't just limit yourself to just like writing a book and publishing it. I have gone to, book signings all over the country. I've had some great experiences, and you just have to do what you can do.
It must be weird to not be able to go around and do, talk about books, do readings, do promotion. How have you been doing the past couple of months?
Oh my gosh, I had so much stuff lined up. I actually don't think I could have done it all, but I was supposed to go to Times Square and have a book signing in Times Square. And then this happened, so I didn't get to go.
No.
And I was supposed to go to the movie thing in July, and now they moved to September, so I'm hoping I still get to go. But actually, the stopping, because working full time, I also teach at Cal State. I teach case law there right now. So I was doing that and trying to do this, and I was getting really tired. So this has actually given me the opportunity to just rest a little bit and get some books out. So you just take whatever opportunities are coming up and go this way or that way or whatever you need to do. I'm not sure when we're going to get back out there and start being with the students, but it's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird as a parent too, to have, I'm sure. And Leslie is a school administrator, so we have like all three stages: parent, teacher, administrator, dealing with the same problem. I don't think anybody's having an easy time.
Yeah,
No?
It's not easy, but I love what you said. You're kind of making the best of this strange time, which I think is so important. I think everyone is trying to find a new balance and not always feeling successful and kind of getting overwhelmed by it. But I too have tried to take a step back. I mean, between my full-time job, this organization, being a mom, it was a lot. But I love that you were able to kind of put it into perspective and do what you can. You were able to get more books out and focus on what matters and kind of rest, which is one way to look at it. You're taking the time you need with your family and yourself and your mental health. I think that's very important.
Yeah, well, right before it started, I was, I live in California, so I drove to Arizona for the Read Across America. And then they just asked me to be a part of their project. It's Arizona Humanities. I forgot what they called it. Oh, they called me a cultural ambassador. So I have my meeting Friday to find out what that is. But, and then I was also helping up. I go to Sacramento and work on the CAW, which is the testing for our students. So I was flying up there, trying to teach in my class and driving all over, doing all this. And I was like, So this has actually been kind of good for me. I'm kind of tired of it now, but kind of wondering when we're actually going to get to go back. But, you just have to say, okay, this is what we're doing now. And what am I going to do with it? Exactly. And, you can't change what's going on in the world. We don't have control over that, but we have control over our own little world. So.
Love that.
Do you have, I see that your background is in curriculum. Are you working on any curriculum stuff now? I mean, I'm sure you do as a teacher, in your own classroom, but do you have any other bigger projects that you're working on?
Any outside of just the teaching at the college. I actually got my PhD because when I retire, I want to teach at the university level online so I can travel around, which is what I started doing. So that's kind of why I did it.
growing up, what was your favorite children's book? And do you have any books now that you kind of think about when you are putting together your storyline? Are there any children's books that have a special meaning to you that kind of help guide you along the way?
Well, I loved Boxcar Children, Nancy Drew, The Outsiders. And then as I got a little older, I liked like Stephen King and, all of that. But I don't know if I have anything that I'm really, the only thing is that when I was in 3rd grade, I was having trouble reading. And my dad sat down with me every day and helped me read. So once I got it, I loved to read. I read all of the time. Now I don't have a lot of time to read recreationally because I'm reading academically or writing or whatever I'm doing. But just the love of reading, I want the students and the children to have a love to read. And if having adventures and knowing you can go out in a bayou and hold a baby alligator, and there's actual pictures of me doing it.
You talked a little bit about the importance of reading, the importance of literacy, and how you had said, just say yes to everything, don't give up, don't say no. If you were to go back to 18-year-old Dawn and she's at the world, what would you say to Dawn?
Oh my gosh. When I was 18, I thought I was never going to be a mom. Like I wasn't going to be a mom. I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. I was going to be a businesswoman. I was going to have my own business. And then of course I got married and had 3 babies. So I don't know what I would do differently, because if I didn't do it that way, I wouldn't have the children I have. I wouldn't have my grandchildren. I wouldn't have had those experiences before I went to college and before I started working in the classroom. I think having all of the experiences of being a mom and all of that helped me with everything else. Sometimes I think I wish I would have just gone off to college, but I don't think I would have done that. I wasn't into college when I was 18 years old. I just wanted out of high school, So I don't know if I would have done anything differently.
Well, it sounds like a lot of wonderful experiences that really kind of are the backbone behind this empire you've been building. And it's so exciting, right? It's amazing to see. Do you ever Google yourself and kind of see what the reviews are out there and what people are saying about you and your books?
Oh yeah, you have to do that because you don't know what's being said and you want to make sure. And you never know when something new comes up there or, but yeah, I Google it just to make sure that, there's nothing bad out there or there's something really good out there I didn't even know about. And, got to keep that.
It's nice to have the world pictures you, right? Like you picture yourself one way or I was just speaking to another author who said, it's so important because you write this book and your vision is, A. But then you see that the results, the way people are taking it is so different. And it's so inspiring to see also how the audience is, appreciating your work in a different light that you never would have thought. So it's another, and he also mentions that you kind of get to learn other perspectives of the books, even though you've written them and you think the perspective, you kind of get to see what everyone else is taking from your work, which I think is also super cool.
Right. Well, the one thing that's been really neat is I grew up in a small town in the mountains, and I've been able to they have the young authors conferences where all the children write the books and they have them published. So I've been like the featured author up here for, I don't know, 11 years or something. So when I go, they come and they say, oh, I have this book, and this book. I read it every night. And I'm like, really? Because you don't really hear a lot of, you don't get the feedback of that a lot. You just think, okay, I'm writing it and, maybe somebody's reading it. I hope they are. But when somebody says, oh, my son, like I went to New York and when this first came out and my friend bought a copy for everybody in the kindergarten class. And I was like, it's too high for kindergarten. But this is what she wanted. But I went to a bookstore and did it. And a doctor walked up and he said that his son who had autism read it every single night. And that was 10 years ago. And I still remember that. To have somebody tell you, my son reads it every night. When I used to go to the Tucson Festival of Books, it's a huge festival. And a lady was there and she was going to Ghana, Africa to build a library. And so she bought a couple books and then I donated the books and asked her, well, send me pictures, not thinking she could really do that because she's kind of busy. And she sent me pictures of these children checking my books out in Ghana, Africa. And that's when I first started. I'm just like, wow. And we had a teacher at school who actually was from Africa. So she took a set of my books and gave them to her relatives who were teachers there all over Africa. So they were sending me videos of these children reading my books. and they're in Europe, and they're all over. I have people from Australia contacting me, and it's like, you just don't know who you're going to touch.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's something also we've experienced, similar kind of thing. Just we send out, we collect these children's books and send them out, and we typically don't speak to the people that we are interacting with, the organizations, and we certainly don't interact with the kids that are getting the books ultimately. But there's definitely something about, seeing a kid holding a book. Okay, so we didn't write that, but we helped, kind of just get that book there logistically, and
Yes.
it's an amazing feeling, and it's a kind of a small thing to do sometimes that you see a big impact out of. I mean, in your case, you're doing a big effort to see that person, but it's still, that feeling is still good.
Like you said, Dawn, you write this and then someone comes up to you and says, I read it. My son reads it every night. It's great to get that feeling of fulfillment, and it kind of keeps you going, doesn't it? It kind of keeps you writing more and looking for more. And in our case, when we're feeling down and we're like, oh, whatever, we get, we've got an email from someone who took a book internationally to their grandchild who was just born with one of our dedication labels. And that was one of the first international journeys one of our books had taken. And it was so inspiring to see that, wow, we are making a difference.
They think you're just getting it all over, but you really aren't. You're kind of in your own working and trying to get things done, and it's hard. One of the things that we did, my brother was going with me, and we went to an elementary school, and I did the kindergartners, like 40 kindergartners, and then he was doing the third grade, and he was talking, he was explaining who I was, and this little boy just starts talking away. Well, his sister had just died, and she was in one of our classes, a severely handicapped classroom. And so he just started talking about it because he happened to mention that that's what I taught. And then afterwards, the teacher said that he hadn't talked in about 6 weeks. So that was the first time he was able to open up and talk about his sister's death. So you do not know who you're going to impact, what you're going to impact. So you kind of have to be careful sometimes what it is you're doing and saying, because you don't know how someone else is taking it or what they're getting from it,
Right. What is your writing space like? Some people like to write outdoors. Some people like to write in their office. Some people, like Dovid, might be writing in the closet somewhere. I don't know. What is your ideal writing space? Do you have music going, candles burning?
The last book I wrote, my mom actually helped me write it. She's the conductor in the book. And we took it to Sacramento and laid all the illustrations out on the bed and plotted it out. And then she sat down with me and helped me write it and what she wanted to write about. I've written in the airports,
Whatever it inspires you.
Wherever I have time and whenever I have time, after school,
Part of our mission is to really show people that you really just need the will to do something good. For those listening, for those who either maybe want to write, part of them always wanted to change the world. What can you say from your experiences, from everyone you've met? You said you've met some really cool people along the way.
Your story is important. And that's the one thing I always try to tell people. If you're writing your story, it's about you, your life, or something that's close to you, it's going to come out and it's going to be okay. It's going to be good. And there might be some people that are kind of grumpy and mean or whatever, but you know what? There's more people that are not. So don't let a setback set you back and keep you back. Don't let somebody's criticism affect your little bubble. This is your story. And if you want to take it out there, then you need to take it out there. Just keep trying.
I want to talk about bookshelves. I know Dovid has been having a crazy project where he's been reorganizing the books in his house. Dovid, you want to tell us a little bit about that? And then I want to know how Dawn organizes her books.
Sure. I mean, when Hindi and I got married, we both had probably a few hundred books between us. So we just kind of put them together as best as we could. And then we had always wanted to Library of Congress the whole thing. Just I don't know why. The organization never made sense. So I've been going through, entering it all into a database. And then when I'm done, I'll just go down the list from A1 till Z, whatever.
Dawn, how do you organize your books in your bookshelf? Everyone has their height, the color, category, authors.
No, I just stick them in there.
Stick them in there. Marie Kondo wouldn't be happy with you, I don't think.
I collect author signed books. So every time I go somewhere, I buy books from the other authors and have them sign it. So those are the books that are in my bookcase. So
are they only children's books, or do you meet authors of all sorts when you go to these
Oh,
workshops?
mostly they're children's books, but I do meet authors like adult romance and some sci-fi stuff. And
What book are you reading right now?
oh my gosh. Oh, I'm not reading it yet, but I just met someone on Facebook. Her last name is Haynes, Carolyn Haynes. Her husband was an actor in the 70s in Room 222. We were friends on Facebook, and I bought her book, and it's her true life story of her husband's path.
Wow.
From poverty to, I think, the White House. So next week, or this week actually, when I go up for my birthday, I'm going to read it.
Tell us where our viewers can learn more about you, about Queen Vernita. Where can they find you?
I have a website, Dr. Menge, and I have a Facebook, Dawn Menge 1. I have an Instagram, Dawn Menge, and a Twitter, Queen Vernita. I have my publisher is Rushmore Press, and of course they're on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and all of that.
If you could leave us with a children's quote from a book, any book that kind of inspired you, any fun children's quote to end us off.
Well, they have the one now.
That
they changed Dr. Seuss about "We will teach you." Did you see that one on Facebook? We will teach you.
Oh, we will teach you in a room. We will teach you in this Zoom. That one?
Yeah. Right now, that's our motto.
You know, as someone who works in a school, I'm with you. Are you teaching remotely now to your students?
Yes, since March.
How has that been going for you in terms of keeping them engaged? I know it's not easy as a mom, I see it. It's not easy as on the other side as staff member.
Yeah, I have probably half my class comes, which is really good considering my students' levels. And the parents are right there next to them and they're helping them, and that's wonderful. I've actually gotten more one-on-one with my students and gotten to see what they can do and what they like to do. So in some ways it's been really good because I'm not as busy like in the classroom as you're always busy with meetings and people, and so now it's just kind of us and 5 of us or whoever shows up. And so that part has been really good. It's hard not being in the classroom. At first I was really apprehensive about it. Like, how are we going to do this with our students? We're pretty hands-on, and it's going pretty, it's going pretty good. We're doing summer school this way. And then I don't know in August, what we're going to be able to do or not. But I've been really, really thankful that my parents have been so engaged. That's been a godsend for us. So
I think certainly it's become more of a partnership than it ever has been. David, what do you think? As the dad of 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging. It's in some ways it's easier when I don't have to engage, but of course it's harder. The kids, even the little ones, have no idea what's going on. Even the big ones, they've trained for all these years for a certain style of learning. And now everything's been changed. And the teachers the same way. They've been trained and have all this experience for a certain style of teaching. And now everybody's just trying to do their best. I think that is the attitude that we're taking. If you got to miss a class, you miss a class. If you make the class and you put a lot of effort in that day, you feel really good. And then you don't feel bad the next day when you can't.
When started, I was actually in Sacramento, and the other teachers were from like San Diego and LA, and they were closing their schools down as we were up there, and I'm like, what is going on? I came home on Friday and never went back. We didn't even get to take our materials with us. We didn't know. So all of a sudden we're doing this, and like, I have nothing. They wouldn't let us back in our classrooms. So dollar store, here I come. And it's getting a little better. They let us in and let us get some of the stuff, but at first it was pretty tough. It's like, how are we going to do this? And I don't have anything. I don't have anything at home, and all my students are on IEPs. They're on different levels. And it's like, how is this going to work? And it's been doing okay. So I'm glad.
I'm glad too. And I'm glad for all the readers out there who have your book, who, like I said before, they're able to really explore. And we're so thankful to you for creating such works that we can take our children on journeys in our house while we're stuck. David, do you have anything to add or ask? Because I'm about to go buy all these books for Alex. I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
pretty much. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Ezra wants every single one of these for sure. No, this has been really great. And thank you, Dr. Menge, for coming and talk with us. And we look forward to seeing more of your books.
Well, thank you for having me.